Hi, my name's Mike, and we're here in Dutchess County, New York State. Exit 43B, the Hopewell Junction, at the Taconic State Parkway. So we're going to take you guys through some different areas of the parkway and explore some of its history, some of the engineering, and the notable characters that helped make this parkway come to fruition.
You start all the way on the south side of the Taconic. The first 3 miles, when you're starting down there and you're working your way north, that's going to be surface streets. After about 3 miles or so, it turns into a limited access highway, meaning that only, no commercial traffic. It's only supposed to be small vehicles, passenger vehicles, entering and exiting. There's a number of reasons for that. The Taconic was constructed, I want to say it was 1904, and built, all the way up, until recently. But most of the construction, I think, ended around the 60s. I'm gonna have to double check that number. But a lot of the construction was done before a lot of, modern cars came out, a lot of heavy equipment, heavy tractor trailers and things. So you'll see, when we take the tour of the highway, you'll see some differences. Notably that there are some bridges that hang a bit lower. They're stone bridges. So I think there is a limit of about 8 feet or so of cars that can come in off the highway, but nothing over 8 feet. There's also no shoulders on large portions of the parkway. So this parkway in particular is very pretty. It goes through a lot of winding mountains. A lot of the design and of the landscape architect, we can give credit of that to Gilmore Clark, to offer, the scenic vistas going through the Hudson Valley, the Catskills, and the Taconic regions. The bridges, and some of the service areas are closed. The bridges are all, as far as I know, are open, but there are a couple services areas along the parkway. I believe 1 or 2 of them have been closed down, they haven't been maintained. And this parkway has been praised for its beauty and offering landscape. This particular spot isn't anything special, but you do get to see basically what happens is you're driving and there's not a lot of developed land along the parkway. They actually blocked that from happening in many places. They wanted to have development, but the whole point of the parkway is to, preserve that scenic beauty, and that's what makes the parkway special, in my opinion. It also integrates itself within the mountainsides particularly well. There's a lot of engineering that went into the parkway that tried to take into account the land and without disturbing, what was already here beforehand, before construction.
Okay guys, so we're still here at exit 43 on the Taconic. We're just going to get a little bit of a closer view for you guys so you can get an idea of what it looks like. Nothing too fancy, but like I said, there is no shoulders. They weren't accounting for that back in the day. The speed limit is 55 through much of the parkway, but that does vary. And there you go. You also have these exits that are much closer together than other highways. You see here you got the exit and the on-ramp. Very little time, if any time, to merge. So it is a very dangerous road in general. You will hear stories about a lot of accidents on the parkway, and it is kind of notorious for being dangerous. So first off, just to give you guys a general layout, the Taconic is a New York State Parkway, the longest New York State Parkway. The Taconic State Parkway runs from Chatham, New York, down to Kensico Dam. And originally the parkway was, intended to go all the way to Canada. Those were Franklin Delano Roosevelt's wishes. They didn't make it that far, but they were able to stretch it 104 miles, which is really quite impressive for the parkway. Originally, this was only going to be an extension of the Bronx River Expressway, but it ended up going further up, going through the Hudson Valley. And you'll see that the parkway does change in character with its surroundings, starting out in a more urban area down south,
going up through the mountains and much more rural fields and valleys up north. The parkway was intended to try to keep its historical value, so you'll notice a lot of different features about the parkway. Things like having concrete pavement instead of asphalt. There's also no shoulders in large sections of the parkway. There's lower speed limits. There's also low-lying bridges made out of local stone from the regions surrounding. The low-lying bridges and some other factors mean that there are no commercial vehicles allowed in the parkway. It's only for pedestrian passenger vehicles. So some quick history about the parkway. Franklin D. Roosevelt for a long time envisioned a scenic byway stretching from the Catskills all throughout the Hudson Valley, north and south, to connect all the parks and local recreational regions, or local recreational areas rather, and pretty vistas. He wanted to have something that wasn't a throughway necessarily, but something that was more scenic and didn't disturb the land around it. So.
Okay, and we're back. There's a bit of road noise, so I'll try to speak loudly so everyone can hear me. We're still in Dutchess County, New York, right along the parkway, and I brought you guys to one of the at-grade intersections we were talking about earlier, which presents some hazardous risk, at least for the drivers on this road. So remember, in this particular section, it's 55 miles an hour, and so they'll come from up there, and basically an at-grade intersection means that there's not going to be an off-ramp or an on-ramp, overpass, that type of thing. You're just kind of coming out of an intersection, and what drivers are expected to do is pass this intersection into the middle there, stop again, and then look for the other traffic going the other way, and then keep going. You'll also have drivers that are able to be in the left-hand lane. If you're coming down the parkway, let's say from this direction, you'll be in the left-hand lane, and someone will try to make a left-hand turn onto there, and I don't think that's technically illegal, so it's something to watch out for. And this, even though the speed limit is 55, obviously a lot of people aren't doing that. They're doing 70 miles an hour or more, so that's why it becomes a little bit dangerous. This one, it looks like they cut back some of the leaves and stuff, or the trees rather, to try and improve safety. Other ones, they've just taken away at-grade intersections completely, and they've put in an overpass just because there was too many accidents. So yeah, this is Dutchess County, New York. One example of the at-grade intersection. There's one other thing I want to point out before we leave this location, guys. So you'll notice some wrong-way signs on the actual parkway itself. Usually you have those on entrance ramps, but they added lots and lots of these due to a very serious accident involving several fatalities. A woman ended up driving the wrong way on the parkway. I think it was back in the mid-2000s. So yeah, she had children in the car, and there were several deaths. So as a result, they ended up placing many more of these wrong way signs. You can see them there in the distance. Many on the on-ramps going the wrong way, and on the parkway itself.
Alright guys, so I brought us to the first rest area. This one seems to be still open, still people around. It's the Todd Hill rest area. I want to say this is mile maybe 48 or so. So just a couple extra facts for you guys. Some of them are the exit numbers. Actually, most now are changed. The exits used to have a W in front of it, and they often didn't really go in number order. They skipped numbers, very confusing. But when they modernized the parkway, they did end up upgrading the exits to more appropriate exits. Most of them are just the names of the towns or cities that are nearby. So that gives you guys a little bit of an idea about that. Some of the stuff about engineering, something some people don't know is that much of the parkway was constructed with concrete for the road surface. That was, the idea was to kind of dump a bunch of money in concrete. It should last about 50 years or so, as compared to asphalt, which has, an extremely much shorter lifespan than 50 years. So they did upfront the cost on the concrete
and as a result, we still have a lot of the Taconic makes up concrete. But they did, the southern section, you'll notice they did start repaving a lot of it to fix it with asphalt. But there was a bill passed after they started doing that to try and preserve the parkway, because they didn't want to change the inherent, I don't know what you call it, construction of the parkway. So luckily they did that. So the rest of the concrete should remain, hopefully for now. And if it doesn't need repaired, I don't know. I'd like to see what they're going to do about that. If they're actually going to flip the cost for more concrete, or if they're really going to just keep trying to pave asphalt. Guys, so I brought you guys to the New Taconic State Park. It's a little windy up here, sorry, I apologize for that. But as I was talking about before, the Taconic connects several state parks. Some of the notable ones: Clarence, Fanstock State Park, Donald J. Trump State Park, Franklin Delano Roosevelt State Park, and I believe Rockefeller State Park is also one of them. So yeah, there's I think there's a few more, but those are the larger parks that I noticed on the map. But yeah, this is New Taconic State Park, and that behind me is the Hudson River. So really, it's just a very nice route to see, you know, many different beautiful vistas along the way, and this being one of them. I was going to take you guys to New Taconic Dam. It's very pretty, very large, but it was just too packed, so I decided to go for this instead. Let's see what we got next. Okay, so I brought us a little bit farther north, closer to Columbia County, and this is one of the low-lying bridges that's on the Taconic, one of many. And as you can see, the bridge has a rock face. They asked the engineers later on, as they continue to construct the bridges, to continue using rock, you know, to preserve that historic value. And this one has a clearance sign. You guys can't quite see it from where you're at, but it says 12 feet 7 inches. So there's no passenger vehicles allowed on the parkway any taller than 6 feet 11 inches, I believe. So it's a very low clearance, because as you can see, these bridges are very low. So they do have some warnings when you get on the parkway early on, either north or south. Just warning the trucks and stuff, like, hey, you can't be on the parkway. So they have a couple exits before they, you know, can turn around and get off. But yeah, just one of the many bridges, guys. Okay, we're just going to finish our time up here in the very southern edge of Columbia County. Brought you guys off one of the pull-offs here. And in the background, we have a beautiful mountainside. I'm going to zoom in for you guys so you can see it a bit better. But thank you everyone for joining me with this short video. Just something I thought I'd bring to everybody. There's a lot of history and information, interesting facts about this road that's very unique as comparison to other parkways or roads. So thanks again for joining me. We'll see you guys next time.